Hey girl, welcome back to my channel, or welcome. If you're just joining us, please subscribe. On this beauty channel, we talk everything hairstyling tips and the business of hair. Today we're going to be answering one question I get all the time. Can I get a human hair wig that is cheap? So yes, human hair wigs are quite more expensive than your hair blends or synthetic wigs, but you can get human hair wigs for less than 30,000 naira. You have the ones you call pixie cuts. I'm going to try to show you pictures later, probably at the end of this video. I'm going to label them so that you could see the differences. Yes, there's the popular one, Wig Tiwa. Wig Tiwa is one of the wigs you can get for less than 30k or at least 30,000 naira, depending on where you buy from or who you buy from. Okay, also know that the cost of these wigs vary. Basically, one of the major difference that in the price variations is the time of purchase. So if somebody purchased the wig Tiwa, let's say January 2022, for instance, my darling, the price is not the same as somebody who purchased wig Tiwa in January 2023. I don't know if that makes sense. So if you were buying wig Tiwa at 20,000 naira, example, in 2022, it's going to be more than that in 2023. Of course, I don't need to tell you about the whole inflation thing that happened. And yeah, it takes a while for things to stabilize. Then another thing is the brand behind, the wig, right? So if you're buying a Gucci bag or shoe or whatever, of course you cannot expect that price to be the same as another brand that you would be buying that is locally produced here in Nigeria, or any other clothing brand. I don't know if that makes sense. So depends on what you're buying for. Are you buying for your what's the word I'm looking for, lack of words? Are you buying for your need, or are you buying based on the brand, right? Are you buying to satisfy your need, or just basically you're also buying the brand? That also affects the price. Now, all those pixie cuts wigs, and especially the factory frontal or factory wigs, they are usually cheaper. Now, another question I get is, sorry, I'm trying to remember these questions. Another question I get is, are the factory double drones the same as the regular double drones? My answer is yes, with a little bit of no, like with a sprinkle of no. So what makes a double drone different from a single drone? It's the quality or the number of short hairs in the head, right? Or in the bundle. So for single drone wigs, it's fuller at the top, and as it gets to the bottom, it thins out. Okay, so that's why you have the full top, and at the bottom it's kind of like scanty, not so appealing, right? For double drones, it's better. You have more hair, more weight at the bottom, but it's not the same with the top. Now, your super double drone, which is everyone's fave, is the fact that you have almost the same volume of hair at the top to the bottom. Now, what makes the difference is the number of short hairs that is available, or that is in that bundle or in that wig. If you have more shorter hairs, obviously the shorter hairs is going to make that that particular side, wherever they stop, look fuller than the part where you have a longer hair. It's like sieving. What's the word? I don't know how to explain this better. I wish there's an example to give. When I find one, I would make it available to you. But the more shorter hairs you have, the more that part where it stops just before the longer ones appear more, are going to look fuller and bigger and have more weight than the bottom. Okay, so that's why when you see a super double drone wig, especially those 12-14 inches them, and they just rest on the neck of a woman, they just look like, oh my god, they look like plumpy babies that you see and you are happy about, and you begin to shout my ovaries, right? It looks so beautiful, like, because they are absolutely so beautiful. So yes, they are single drawn human hair wigs that are cheap. It doesn't make them bad. It doesn't mean that you got a bad hair. It's a single drawn. okay, which means that you have a lot of work to do there. You're constantly going to be styling. If you've got a straight hair, you're constantly going to be styling the wig, you know, and you're constantly going to be like not looking over your shoulder, but I mean, you know, once in a while. And one thing before I forget, if you buy a single drawn hair, I beg you, for the love of God, if you bought it long, before you cut, take it to a professional to cut it. Don't just cut by yourself and use scissors and just cut it straight. You know what happens? You begin to grow puff. So when you buy single drawn wigs and they're like long and then you want to cut it, you cut it to be 10 inches. It will be nice, so but just know that for every damn time you want to wear that hair, you're constantly going to straight it, because at some point the down is going to look like it's puffing up, like as if you put yeast inside, right? And it to be blowing. But it's not bad. How do I explain this? If you have a wig like this, you would understand what I'm saying. Okay, so that's that about that. So factory wigs have made human hair wigs relatively cheap. So the factory wigs are the double drawn factory wig. It's not going to be so full like the double drawn, like the double drawn naked, for lack of words, naked or bundles that you buy. Okay, so the bundles are obviously going to be more and going to look fuller, but sometimes, depending on the company or the factory that produced the factory wigs are almost the same thing that you sometimes are not able to tell the difference. Okay, so yes, you don't have to break the bank to be able to buy a nice human hair wig, and you can still get human hair wigs for 30,000 naira or less. And that you bought a single drawn hair does not make it bad. It's just the type of hair it is. It's a single drawn and nothing more, meaning that you have to do more work. But if you buy a super double drawn, it's kind of like better depending on the purpose or the use for why you bought it, and it's more fun, right? So let's wear this and see. Okay, so this is very rough and I've not done anything, and you obviously saw me wear it. So I'm going to post the next video on how to wear wig as a beginner, basic things you need to do to rock your wig as a beginner. I mean, you've never had wigs before, or you've had them before but you just haven't really like found your way around it. So this still has the net and all. So the next video, the net is going to be out. I do not know how to cut my nets like this, so I'm going to cut it. Probably I'm going to show you my process of cutting it out of my head, but yeah, just keep watching. Thank you.